The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riff. Had to think
there for a second, huh?
COVID, you're locked up so long you can't keep track of days. And speaking of COVID, let's get Starship Commander COVID and our latest report.
Total cases in Massachusetts, 481,617. New cases was 2,215, which is the lowest it's been in a long time. Total deaths is 13,930. New deaths is 41. And for the Bristol County deaths, it's still listed at 48,196 because the state did not post a list for the daily counts for counties. So we're still looking at the count from the 25th. For Fall River, we had 45 new cases, bringing us up to 10,952. And we had 2 more fatalities, which now bring us up to 280 deaths. You know, it gets very depressing. But while we're on this, the former mayor of New Bedford, Fred Kalisz, passed away from complications of COVID. His brother announced it this morning.
That's too bad. I knew Kalisz. He was a good friend of our mutual friend, the humble bum, Bob Mello.
Yeah.
That was he was, I think he worked on Kalisz's campaign, Bob Mello, who was a political operative in New Bedford, or at least thought he was. So you remember that epic meeting of Kalisz and Eddie Lambert on the in between Fall River and New Bedford to shake hands, supposedly, and to have the two cities work together? That lasted about a New York minute. So, but, my condolences to his family. And like I said, I did know him. I didn't know him well, but I did know him. And, he did serve as mayor of the city of New Bedford. So
he was last serving as the Bristol County Register of Deeds South. So he was serving as the Register of Deeds for the New Bedford area.
Yeah.
So,
well, rest in peace.
And I didn't realize until recently that he's a doctor.
Really?
PhD, I believe. Yes.
Hey, you mean like Dr. Jill? Okay.
Yeah.
She's that kind of doctor. All right. But, well, the COVID continues but now it's not quite as bigger issue now. It seems that once Biden got in, we're not really talking about it as much because I guess the major source of that infection was not Wuhan. It was Donald Trump's hair or something. I don't know. So politics again rears its ugly head as always. So, but hey, we got to keep trucking. I guess today is, what is it? February? Is it February 1st that the new vaccines criteria goes in, where anybody over 75 can get the vaccine?
And anyone 65 with comorbidities.
Yeah, with 2 comorbidities. Yeah.
Yes.
Which is really odd because like I said, this thing, you and I have these conversations all the time, because this thing is like, there's no rhyme or reason. There's no standardization. Other states are saying 70 years old, 75 in Massachusetts, 70, 65 in other places. It's like, we can't keep anything straight, and it's funny. They were all yelling about, well, we need national direction, but then they allow these governors to do anything they want. And that's what you got. You got mass chaos half the time. And that's what's happening now. How many millions of hundreds of millions of dollars have we lost just in vaccines? Every day you find it. I don't know, vaccines were left out. They spoiled. They weren't refrigerated properly. Somebody forgot them. So those people could have inoculated somebody. And but then I heard today, actually, at a previous meeting, somebody got the COVID vac and got COVID. So
it's possible.
The question was, do you need the two of them to be actually basically protected against the disease? Or do you,
here's the situation. Here's the situation. You may have been exposed to COVID yesterday or the day before, and today you're going for your vaccine. It takes 5 days for the virus to produce itself in the body. It takes at least a week or two before your body starts producing antibodies. So there is a possibility that you could get COVID right after a vaccine. It's not that the vaccine gave it to you, but you do get about 50% of the protection from the first vaccine, and then the final 45% from the second vaccine. But now with all of these new variants of the virus, they're not sure if it's going to work. The vaccine's going to work with like the Africa virus, the African variant, which is going to be interesting because they've stopped traffic from Africa coming here, any air traffic, any people coming in from Africa, and they're stopping it from other countries. Meanwhile, the president lifted the order on Muslim countries because he thought that was a racist move, but then he puts them on other countries. So,
yeah,
kind of get it straight for the first part of it, so that people understand what you're doing. But what you're talking about vaccines going to waste. The European Union is now forcing Pfizer to give them the vaccine before they export any vaccine to England or any other country. They want all their vaccine before it goes to any other country, which is going to create a problem. And I think that's the European Union's way of saying, to England, because England did Brexit and got out of the whole thing. So
politics wrecks everything, right? Even Brexit.
Yeah.
But to get back to what you said, the individual I was talking to wasn't saying that the vaccine gave it to the person. He said, is it really protecting until you get two? And you just explained it. I'm glad. So now we have to start calling you Dr. CJ, because if Jill can be called doctor and she's not even a PhD in a medical science, you are. You're a PhD in nursing, so you actually are in a medical field. So from now on, when we do the COVID section, I'm going to refer to you as Dr. CJ. So get used to it. But
you're not the only one that refers to me that way.
So what's on our? Let's before you just say, because I got to touch upon that. This hypocrisy and it's crazy because they bashed Trump, and then now they're trying to undo everything. And I saw a great segment yesterday about the transgender being allowed to compete in women's sports. And they had someone on who was a very good high school athlete, and she made a great presentation on it. And she said, listen, this is ridiculous. I mean, these people, these woke, people, they don't care. They're destroying that. That'll destroy female sports. And the thing that was staggering? She started it off with a very good statistic to prove that, I don't care what the wokies say. Women and men are different. We know that physiologically. She said that there are 300 high school male runners who run faster than the fastest woman in history, the Olympic champion, 300 high school students, and virtually every college runner runs faster. So how can you allow people to compete in women's sports when they're not physiologically a woman? You know, this identity stuff, you know, they want to go with the science. Let's go with the science. Physiologically, and she said it, physiologically, once men reach puberty, they have greater bone density, greater muscle mass, because obviously the average fat on a male is lower than the average fat on a female because they don't have as much muscle to fat, as high a muscle to fat ratio. If you look at every sport, the strongest weightlifter in the women's Olympics can't lift anywhere near what the lightest male can. They're destroying female sports at the expense of what? Their perception of social correctness. This country is being dismantled. And then they take that and they want to muzzle everybody and take away our rights to free speech. And kudos to Tulsi Gabbard, who called Brennan and a few other people terrorists because they're trying to take away free speech. He went on and said that all people who have a different opinion than the left are germinating hate groups like they do in foreign countries like ISIS. So they all have to be destroyed, including, and he went down a whole litany of everybody. And he even got into the libertarians. So what they're basically saying is, and she called him a terrorist because they are attempting to squelch, and she said it. She said she swore an oath to the Constitution when she was in the military. Every congressman and every politician swears to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And the very foundation of that Constitution is the right to freedom of speech and having different opinion. And to have the party in power and operating with big tech to silence any critic, to use words like deprogram, is a scary proposition. Somebody better give him Nehemiah's speech. And when they came for me, there was no one left to speak. So speak up and speak out.
That's important. It's very important because remember, we do need to be heard. And when you have them trying to silence us on every issue that comes up, when do we finally say, okay, freedom of speech is no longer in existence, stop talking, you can't speak anymore because we won't tolerate it? Because that's where we're going. I mean, just look at what Facebook does. You post something, they take it down and they kick you off of Facebook for 24 hours, then 40, 72 hours, then a week, then a month. You know, they keep doing that. If they don't like it, they take it down. And they say they can do that because they are a private company.
Well, and they're talking about secret police and every other thing, and talking about being able to invade your privacy and the sanctity of your home because there's a domestic threat. How about the domestic threat in Portland and Seattle when left-wingers are burning every night? But you don't hear about that. They're not talking about the domestic threat from their own side of the aisle. And that's a travesty. But, you know, this is politics. But I can tell you one thing they're doing, CJ. They never stop taking our money. They never stop taxing us. They never stop. And you know what I'm segueing into right now?
Yes, I do.
Segueing into the rumors that we're hearing that we are going to bond $5 million for athletic fields. And as you said, they did not put that in to the number that they hawked to these people when you got the debt override. And they're gonna try to, the debt override will be in this budget. The one that our mayor, and correct me if I'm wrong, CJ, because you are right there with me, on the opposing side against the debt override, not against the high school, but against the debt override, because we knew this was coming.
Yes, we did.
We knew this was coming. And at every single neighborhood meeting we went to, the mayor got up and said, don't worry about this. This is going to be in 23. It's going to be in 23. And didn't he say also, correct me if I'm wrong, I got a pretty good memory. Didn't he also make everybody feel really nice and warm and fuzzy and comfortable? Don't worry about this. And by that time, we may have so much money we don't even need a debt override. Didn't he say that?
Yes, he did.
At virtually every meeting.
Every meeting.
Now we got no money. Again. But that's what they said. They lied. They conned you. They conned you. When the hell is a government ever not run out of money? Not spent every dime you give them and try to get more. And now they're going to get, in addition to the debt override that's creeping in, and I think, what is it this year? Let me check my calendar. Oh, it's right here on my computer. It's 2021. It's not 23. Doesn't one come before 3?
Yes, it does.
After 1? But it's coming again. They tried it last year. Let's see what the council does. And in addition to this, they're going to go in and try to bond $5 million for athletic fields. And listen, nobody believes in athletics more than I do. I think it builds character, builds discipline, and it also is a great outlet for students. However, I remember Brad Kilby whining about the football fields when this city was financially strapped and they bonded $1 million or $2 million for those fields. And where are they now?
Under a building.
School. They're under the new school. And how much use did we get out of them? You think that this, let's hope that this city council has enough brains to tank any budget that puts in something that was given to the taxpayer under the assumption that it would not come here till 23. And even if we use fiscal years, that'll be 22. Let's, not 21. And that $5 million, listen, you know something? You may have to make do. You may have to make do with some athletic fields. You may even have to go borrow somebody else's athletic field. It's been done before. Another $5 million for you, the taxpayer. A debt override. 2.5 max. All the TIFs that you have to absorb. Really? Does anybody really care about the fact that the people of this city are virtually, we have one of the highest number of people living below the poverty line in the state, if not the highest. We are one of the poorest cities. What do you think the average income is? $34,000 for a family, $25,000 for an individual. Landlords can't raise their rents, yet their taxes are going to go up. And when they do, all these people can't afford their rents. And we just keep spending. You know why? Just like with the federal government. Nancy Pelosi doesn't care that if you walk in downtown San Francisco now, they actually have maps of where the crap is all over the streets. They actually have that. You can go online and look at the places that have the highest concentration of urine and feces in the street. But you think she worries about that in her walled mansion on the outskirts of San Francisco? Do you think she worries about anything? This is not what they're trying to say. This is not about equity, racial equity, and labels. This is a pure and simple class war. The rich people don't give two damns about you or anybody else because it doesn't affect them. You think while Michelle and Barack Obama pontificate about the difficulties of what's going on here from their $10 million mansion on Martha's Vineyard, really? That's a real good perspective. You're not living on the south side of Chicago in the midst of 700 murders last year, are you, Barack? No, you're not. And none of them do. None of them do. They're all rich, privileged. AOC. AOC plays the New York City Hispanic from the ghetto. They should play Elvis behind there. Remember that song, Bedford, in the ghetto? You know. Yeah. Well, guess what? She grew up in Westchester County. Look it up. It's the richest county in the New York area. Okay? She went to a private school. A private school, not a public school. And she went to Boston University. She's a rich, privileged
brat.
Airhead. But you know, this is the key. You look at her. She's Hispanic. But she doesn't have a clue either. This is not about the labels they try to put on us. That's the problem with what's not. This is propaganda at its most insidious. They keep telling you there's domestic terror. Yeah, there is, but it's the left wing in Portland and Seattle consistently. Yeah, was there a terrorist? Was that thing that they did at the Capitol wrong? Absolutely. Because what have we always said on this show? The extreme on either end are lunatics, whether they're extreme left or extreme right. Nobody cares about law and order. Everybody wants to take rights away from us, and they're creating a situation that doesn't exist. And if you buy it, you're nuts, because nobody cares. Let's watch our city council in our little corner of the world. Let's see what they do if these things really come forward. Let's see how many people rise up and go crazy. So pick up your phones. Tell your city councilors, if you see that override, if you see that bond issue, they better put the kibosh on it.
Well, what's interesting is, and I spoke to several people in city government about this, about the debt exclusion. The debt exclusion was done as a special ballot, not because of the fact that we needed it. It was done because had it been done in the November ballot, it wouldn't have passed, because at the same time, we were doing the water bonding question. And they would have seen both of them, and both of them would have failed. So they separated them deliberately so that they could do exactly what they did. Flabbergast you, make you unaware of what they're trying to do. And you bought it hook, line, and sinker, people. You bought it hook, line, and sinker. And now you're going to be on the hook for it. I've already heard from seniors who own property that say they have to put their properties on the market, and they're going to have to find a place to live in a senior complex because they can't afford the taxes of the water anymore. And that's a shame. But here's the problem. If they sell their house, they can't get into a senior housing complex because they sold their property and they have a lot of money. So either way, they lose.
Well, maybe they'll be smart enough to get out of Dodge, because I'll tell you, the big question is, you're going to build a new high school? Aren't athletic fields part of the school? Right? But they didn't put it in, did they?
No, but they put the swimming pool in. Remember? They put the swimming pool in.
Exactly. But they didn't put the athletic fields in because they knew that was a big ticket item. And
right.
now they're going to want to build like they always do in Fall River. They want to build the greatest athletic complex in the state of Massachusetts, rather than using that money for an underperforming system with a superintendent who doesn't belong there.
Who makes nice sexual comments towards his employees.
That's right. And age discrimination and the other thing. And it's ironic because I had a conversation with an individual who happens to know the superintendent. And he made a great characterization. He said, no matter what room you put him in, he'll manage to to defecate on the floor because that's just the way he is. And it's like, so this is somebody who knew him long before he ever came to this part of the state, somebody from another part of the state. But, you know, you had one individual that said he's always the most immature person in a room. And, you know, this other individual said, no matter what room you stick him in, he's going to defecate on the floor. He's going to figure out a way to defecate on the floor. So this is what we got. So we've got somebody keeping his job, going to probably cost us $500,000 in lawsuits.
If not more.
If not more, exactly. If not more, because if they pull his record from the old lawsuits in other communities, they may get more, because this man definitely has a patent. And so all that, and there'll be no explanation why the athletic fields weren't included in the price of rebuilding a new school, except the fact that then the number that they lied again about in all those presentations would have been inflated even more, and people might not have voted. And as you said, that's why they did it as special, because if they really knew the full ticket, we see what happens. And you know, this is problematic. It's problematic because this city is going to die. I don't even know how landlords can stay. I mean, what are you going to do? You can't raise your rent. Now they're freezing you. Yet you have to pay your bills. Your taxes go through the roof. Your water bills go through the roof. Can't raise your rent. So what is that going to bring? Exactly what they want. They don't want the landlords in this community that care about their properties, care about their tenants like the old days when the immigrants came here and they had beautifully manicured yards and they really took care of them. I remember, I don't know if you remember him. You remember Mr. Serper on the corner of Robeson and President Avenue? It's like a two-family house on that corner. Yep. I used to see that man out there painting the foundation and meticulously having a different color for the joints. That property was so well maintained and so beautiful. It was a pleasure to see somebody that did stuff like this. And what they want is, the hell with people like this. They want all the slumlords from out of town to buy all these properties, let them run down, let them burden the city. I guess that's what they want, because they never give the residential taxpayer a break. They just won't do it. It's against their religion. So let's see what the city council does if these things do come. And I'm not going to say, we can't say they're absolute, but that's the rumors.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, I've heard it from several people in city government that Mary Sahadi wants to include the debt exclusion because they don't have the money. They're already working on the budget for fiscal year 2022, and they already have a deficit. They don't have the money. They don't have the money, yet they spend it like it's water. If you don't have the money, you don't bond for it. And that's what they do. They bond for it. And that makes more of a problem. And this is why we are in the situation we're in. We never can get out of our own way, and we can never say, hey, we need to stop spending. Why don't we cut back on some of the salaries? Why don't we cut back on some of the jobs? Why don't we do away with things like special assistants to the mayor? Why don't we do away with things like the chief of staff? Why don't we do away with things like assistants to the assistants to the assistants? How many assistant superintendents does the school system need before they turn around and say, oh, don't have enough yet? I mean, we're at that point, and it's time for it to stop. Well, we're out of time. Time goes by so fast on this show, I'm telling you.
It's like money in Fall River, gone.
Gone, exactly, gone. Hey, everyone, thanks for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and wear a mask. Have a great day.